Guys, man, you guys already know what the deal is. It's your boy Go Getter. We're about to get into the SPY Sundays and break down this SPY chart for the week, right? So let's pull it up, man. First things foremost, we are on the daily time frame right now. Starting out, let me just break it down. On the daily time frame real quick. Let me get to this right here. So first things first that I want to break down is this range that we just recently broke out and that I'm going to put in. I'm gonna put it in blue, right? So we just broke out of the range of 755, 758, right? We just broke out of 758, between 758 and that 730, almost 720 level if you wanted to go that far down as well. So we just broke out of that range. Those were the previous all-time highs, right? And now we have made new all-time highs, right? We are sitting at the level of 773, but last week we ended up making the new all-time high of 776, 777, right? So that blue range that I marked out is the range in the box that we were just in, that we finally broke out of, right? And if you watched last week's video, the reason why we broke out of this range is due to the fact that Iran and U.S. Donald Trump said Iran and U.S. reached a deal, reached an agreement, and the Strait of Hormuz will be opening back up. But we don't know how true that is. Yes, we had a good week last week, but we don't know what the week going into this week is going to look like, because they're saying that, hey, Iran is also saying we haven't even had talks with the U.S. about that. So we don't know how true that is, and let's see what type of agreement that they could really get. But just like you guys know, man, we're going to be looking at what we're going to be looking at for the week of the levels for the week of Monday, August 10th, right? So first thing first, like I said, man, we want to pay attention to what's going to be happening overnight. Yes, the blue range is the previous range that we were just in, but we broke out of it, right? And I still want to see us retest that 758 level. But now we are sitting in the range between 777 as a new all-time high, and then that support level of 767, which we have not been able to get below Thursday or Friday, right? Friday we end up just moving around, staying stagnant in no man's land, right? So what I will be seeing for tomorrow is, I want to know whether or not, I want to see where we open up tomorrow. So overnight, we know the market likes to move with the futures. So what I'm going to be looking at for the morning is whether or not we move up closer to the 777 level at the all-time highs, or if we move closer to that 767 level at that support, right? If we end up moving closer to the 767 level, I want to see whether or not we stay in this box, possibly go down a little bit and come back up in it and move up to the upside, going back up higher, or do we get below this box, test it again, and possibly go lower to finally retest that 758 level that we haven't yet tested, right? We ended up just running straight up all week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're kind of flat, right? So that's what I'm going to be looking at that 767 level, because you can see we are clearly bouncing up this level and we can't get past it. That's a support level, right? The next level that I'm looking at is that all-time high, 777. So let's say the market ends up having some good news and we want to move higher, right? I want to see whether or not we stay. I want to see whether or not we get to that 777. Do we get above it and come back down into the range, right? Rejecting off of it, or do we do something like? Let me clear all this stuff out the way. Get that out the way as well. Or do we do something like, hey, we get above it, we hold above it, right? Play around a little bit and then move up even higher, right? I don't know how likely that is. Given the way the market has been moving lately, I don't want to make any type of predictions. I just want to be prepared with the levels. I don't want to sit here and say it's likely to go higher. I don't want to sit here and say it's even not likely to go higher, right? We're just going to be prepared with the levels that we're looking at, right? And the reason why we're looking at these levels, once again, right? Market failed to get above this level. That is the all-time high last week, and market failed to get below this level when we got to Thursday, Friday, right? That support level 767. Below that 767, we have all the time to test this 758. We have a lot of space here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting below and retesting that 758, because that's what I'm watching this week. If we move to the daily time frame, we broke out of that level, we broke out of that box that I was talking about of 758, and the market likes levels. The market likes to retest levels and come back to them for that confirmation. So that confirmation for me is I'm truly, truly looking for what happens this week, and I really want to see something like this. We've gotten above, right? We've came down lower a little bit, right? We may even stay stacked. We may even go back above and act like we're gonna go above, and then come back and test that. I want to see it test to that 758 level this week because we broke out of it, and I know when we break out of a prime time level, market likes to cleanly test that level the same way it cleanly broke out of that level. So I'm watching 758 and I want to see whether or not this week we're going to test that 758. The market had a great up week. We're at all-time highs. You don't want to buy at the top. Usually the market gets exhausted after this because there's so much buying pressure. And now let's see whether or not the selling pressure comes in or whether or not we just stay stagnant and make another range, man. But hey, we'll see what happens. Just like any other time, let's go into the CNBC real quick. And I want to break down what we got going on, right? So, like I told you guys earlier, man, Iran denies any direct talks with U.S. on opening Strait of Hormuz as, anyways, that's just what it is. Some more words and names that I didn't feel like reading, but let's read a little bit of the key points. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said his country is not engaging in talks with the U.S., but said messages are being exchanged through intermediaries. So they're not talking personally, face to face, but some messages are being received and transferred. U.S. President Donald Trump and other senior officials last week had suggested a deal with Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz was imminent. Iran-backed Houthis reportedly carried out a drone strike on Saudi Aramco refinery in Jazan. So Iran and Saudi Aramco are fighting. They're also saying that, hey, they're not engaging in U.S. talks, but they have intermediaries communicating with them. We'll see how the market reacts to that, but that is basically saying that, hey, the deal is wishy-washy, right? Right here, investor optimism that the U.S. and Iran might be close to coming to an agreement to allow vessels to freely transit the critical Hormuz Strait dimmed over the weekend, right? So it dimmed over the weekend after Iran denied engaging in any direct negotiations. The U.S. around opening the waterway, they denied engaging in any direct negotiations with the U.S. around opening the waterway. Crude oil rose 1% to just above $79 a barrel today. The three major indexes are coming off their best week since April. The S&P 500 finished last week at an all-time closing record. Stocks got an end-of-week boost on Friday after July non-farm payrolls report showed an unexpected contraction, raising hopes for investors that the Federal Reserve will hold off on interest rate hikes. Fed funds future traders now price in a roughly 44% likelihood that the central bank raises rates as its September meeting, down from 67% reading seen a week prior. Ooh, my bad. That was a lot of stuff to read, but everything that I just read comes down to talking about market just had its best week last week since April. They had the July non-farm payrolls, right? The payroll and however many jobs were added to our economy in July. They had that this past week. There was an unexpected contraction, which raises hopes for investors that the Federal Reserve will hold off on interest rate hikes, right? Market doesn't like interest rate hikes because that means that it costs more to borrow money. It costs more to inflation gets increased, which means that things that we buy every day will get increased, right? And it'll be costing more to borrow more money because you'll have to pay more money back to the banks, right? So that's what we got going on this week, man, and that's what I'm looking at for SPY. If you guys want to stay updated, man, as always, click the link in the bio and come join us at Full Circle Wealth in our free community. And as always, man, click the link in the bio as well to follow us on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. And hey, I'll see you guys next week, man. Hope you guys learned something. It's your boy Go Getter, and I am out.